And I wanna, can I pin this? That's the only thing. Show. They won't let me pin it. What's going on? What's going on? See if everybody get to see me. Let's see. People. Check, 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 check. Oh, yeah, quality. Okay. Let's see who's here. I'm gonna check my live. What's going on? What's going on? Let's get right into it. This is your boy B. This is Talk to Me on Friday. Talk to Me on Friday. Uh, I'm gonna talk about, and I'm gonna lead the end to some questions. I gotta get somewhere here in the next 30 minutes. But I'm gonna talk about why the top of your head is getting thinner and why black men keep missing a lot. Keep missing it. So I want to get into that. I want to see what's going on. What's going on? What's going on? Ron, what's going on? Ron, Malik, is that Malik? Brandon, glad to see you back. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Yeah, so I'm doing these lives, man. Every Friday, pushing it every Friday, and then of course I'm on Instagram every Tuesday. So talk to me Tuesdays, and then also I have always on Fridays. So those are my two lives. So I'm gonna be working it. So I'm gonna continue to improve on these lives, man, and get better and better with it. So with that being said, just to respect everyone's time, let's go ahead and get into uh, my topic, and then we can leave room for some questions. Hopefully, I get through. If I don't get through it, then it is what it is. We can resume next Friday. But my topic is what I'm talking about is why the top of your head is getting thinner and what black men keep missing. And so, a lot of black men, what I find, and I've been talking about hair loss a lot because one, it is one of the things that a lot of men, in general, but specifically black men, are having to deal with and really don't know how to deal with it. This is something that's on the back of their minds. This is something that they think about. Uh, so when you're seeing yourself every single day, either you seeing your hairline thin or you see your crown, and then some black men who just didn't have the information didn't catch it in time, and so for them they may have to find a different alternative. Uh, and so for me, being a certified trichologist, I've been over the last 5 years I've been consulting over 500 black men on their hair loss to be specific. And so that's why I'm talking about this particular topic and really zoning in. So let's go ahead and get into it. Enough of the let me see, it's 10:11:57. All right. So a lot of black men don't realize how thin the top is getting until it cuts low, right? You go to the barbershop, you get it cut low, and then that's when the truth shows up, you know. And now and at that point, especially if you're in the barbershop, definitely the light gonna hit it different. You're gonna be you see certain things that you didn't really see when you're at the barbershop, and they got that ring light or that bright light on there, and now you start to see more scalp. The middle starts to look weak. Your corners start to look meek. Now you're looking in the mirror and you're like, hold up, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. What changed from this week to last week or the last time you got a cut? And that's what ends up happening is that you feel like these changes just happen overnight. When did this? When did it get like this? That's the question. Like, when did it get like that? It's like, how did this sneak up on a lot of men? A lot of men think that the problem started when they noticed it, and that's the first thing that happens. A lot of times it started way before that. So in this video, I want to just break this down plain. what men notice first, what black men keep missing, and what makes it worse, and what needs to change. Because a lot of men are losing time, because a lot of men are not losing time because they do not care. They're losing time because they keep looking at the wrong thing too long. So most black men don't catch the top getting thin or the crown getting thinner or your hairline getting thinner when it starts. They catch it when it gets hard to hide. And let's start with what men usually notice first, right? So a lot of times it's not like one huge bald spot overnight. It's smaller than that. The top doesn't look as full, and the middle looks a little weak. The crown starts to look a little lighter. The sun hits it, and you can see through it, right? And then after the cut, now more scalp shows. And so with our hair, it makes it very difficult because we have curly hair typically, and so it can hide under a lot of just hair growth until we cut it low. Then we really get to see what our hair actually looks like underneath all that particular growth. So that's another thing too. We can hide it a lot unless you're getting a you just get a low cut, super low cut, almost like look like almost like you bald type of cut. That's the only way you're gonna really be able to see it. But other than that, it can definitely camouflage if you have longer hair. So the hair on top starts to feel a lot softer than the sides, and you can start to feel it. Like you can feel, okay, does this feel softer? Does the sides grow out a little bit more than the top growing out, right? So you can do this right at home. Start feeling your hair and be like, okay, does the hair feel like it's growing out a little bit more than it is on the top? The waves start looking, your waves stop waving. Your waves go from that brrr, that sound when you used to go brrr, you can feel it. Now go boop, boop, boop. It's not even a wave. It's like a river now. That's what it starts to look like. And that's pretty much how it starts for a lot of men. It's not always going to be dramatic. Sometimes the hair is still there, but it's not hitting the same. And that's why men get fooled, because it's not bad yet. It's like, okay, you know what? Like I said, for our hair, we can camouflage, and it's like, it's not that bad. We say in our mind, it's not that bad. You know what I mean? Because then you start comparing yourself. You look at somebody else where you're like, it's not as bad as theirs. At least I can still get away with it. And that's a bad misstep. That's what we tell ourselves. And then sometimes your hair feels weaker before it even looks crazier. So sometimes the top changes before it even shocks you. So the top usually starts acting different before it starts to look crazy. And some men notice it when they're brushing, right? You brushing your hair, you start to notice it. Or even if you're picking out your hair, like if you pick your hair out and you start to notice how it used to, like the pick used to like hang onto the hair a little bit. And now when you pick your hair out, it's like it's just going straight through it. Like you can tell, okay, you know what? I've lost a little bit of density. And so those are some of the things that men start to notice. But definitely after a fresh cut, after you've been in the bathroom light, you can also see it. Some men notice it because their barber say something. Hey, me, your barber lining you up. Hey man, I just wanted to let you know, you know, you thin it. And some barbers don't say nothing. Some barbers can see it happen progressively, and they may not say something. Not because they don't want to say something. It depends on the relationship with your barber. But some people, I get it as a barber. You might, some people might get offended, or they might feel a certain way about that. So that might be the reason why. But if you have a good relationship with your barber, and you guys can like really talk, and there's no problem, then they're probably, more likely they'd be like, hey, listen, man, I'm starting to notice your hair getting light. And then I would even ask the barber, hey, you notice anything different with my hair? Does it seem like it's getting thinner? Let me know. And then, when your barber give you that mirror, always look at the top of your head. I know they be showing you the size, but always focus on, okay, what does the top look like? Has there any change? So you want that outside confirmation too, because that matters. And a lot of men move only after somebody else sees it. And so your barber noticed it. You know, your father might say something, your friend might say something, your lady might say something. You know, they'd be like, "Yo, bro," you know. Your brother might say something, "Yo, bro, that spot looking real thin." You know, especially if y'all got a relationship where y'all be joking with each other. So if you've been feeling like something is off on the top, but you keep talking yourself out of it, I mean, that's pretty normal. You know, that's normal to talk yourself out of it, even though you see it. You're like, I know it's happening, but you know, you just kind of say, it's not that bad, or somehow, some way, we just convince ourselves it's not happening, and that's what just a lot of men do. That's just what it is. So, if that's what men notice first, the next question is this: what do black men keep missing? You know, and so before we get into that, if you've been dealing with hair issues and you're still confused, I mean, right now this is your chance to come on live, get some real clarity about what's going on. You can tell me what's been going on. I'll break down what I think may be happening and what may be getting, what you might be missing, and what kind of mistake could be keeping you stuck. It's not a private consultation. It's just a live breakdown to help you see your situation a lot clearer. I put the link in the chat. I'm calling this the hairline hotline, so you can hit me up on the hairline hotline. There's a link in the chat. All you have to do is not you don't have to get right now. I'm not saying right now. I'm saying you have to go in, sign up for it, so that way I kind of have a better understanding, um, a better understanding what's going on. Absolutely, Ron. A better understanding what's going on with your scalp, with your hair. And this is giving you some background information, but this, I'm having a segment on my lives is going to be called the Hairline Hotline. Okay. There's a link. You just fill it out. If you're comfortable coming online, and all, it's not. You don't have to show your face. You just call it in on your phone. You don't have to show your face. You know, you just be on your phone, um, and you just send your information in, and you know, we kind of just talk it through from there. So if you're comfortable with that, the hairline hotline. Okay. Now, a lot of black men. Let's get back to this. All right. You know what do black men keep missing? So a lot of black men keep judging their whole head by the front, right? If the line still looks decent, then you're like, I'm good, right? And I had a client who was like this. They were saying, I asked them, I'm like, hey, what was like, what's the what part of your scalp bothers you? You know, about when it comes to your hair loss. He was like, man, if my hairline was a lot better, I wouldn't really care too much about my crown, because you know I can cover that up, and you know typically more people are seeing him in the front versus you know in the back, and so for him his hairline was like, hey man, if this was cool, then I'll probably you know be able to get away with it, but the fact that it's not, it definitely bothers him, and so that's why the a lot of times if your front looking cool, your lines looking cool, then you're gonna think you're good, because you're gonna be like, all right, cool, I can deal with that, you know. And another thing, if your beard is sharp and the lineup is clean, then you know they think the whole head is fine, right? But meanwhile, the top is getting weaker, and that happens all the time. Another thing men miss is that hair can still be there, and it can still be getting thinner. Hair can still be growing and it still not be full, and hair can still come in and it's still not, you know, it doesn't cover your scalp the same, and that matters because a lot of men think if hair is still there, then they're fine, but that's not how it always you know works. Okay. Another thing I would say men miss is how much the haircut can hide for a while. So when the hair is longer, and this is what I was saying earlier, when the hair is longer, when it's you know, when you have a certain style, when your hair is longer, that can be a camouflage. When the you know the light is softer on your hair, you can't really see too. It's kind of like if you, it's like think about trees. You know, the more dense there is, you can't. Well, the more tall the tree is, the harder the density. You can really can't tell. You know what I mean? Especially if the tree is very flush, and so because the trees are tall doesn't necessarily mean that it's dense. And so because your hair is long doesn't necessarily mean it's dense. It's just due to the fact that the way our hair is shaped, is in the texture of our hair, then the light doesn't hit it the same, you know. So we can't see those weak spots that we hide, and that is a I would say that is a that's something that I find with a lot of guys that hurt them as well, because when you have that long hair and you're hiding that spot, you have to confront what's happening on your head. You have to confront the hair loss. If you don't confront it and you push it back and you push it back, you have a window of opportunity, right? And the if you get in front of it versus just allowing it to just fester, just like anything, if you have if your arm, if you have a sore or whatever the case may happen, with your body, if you're getting sick, if you allow it to fester and you do not start taking care of that particular sickness, or scar or whatever the case may be, and you just let it fester, then it can get a lot worse. And a lot of times that's what ends up happening, especially when you have, you've grown your hair out and you've been able to hide those particular weak spots. So, and then, then the cut, then when you get that cut and it gets lower, now that light hits it different. Now the top looks a lot worse than what it did when you had longer hair. Now you can't unsee it. And you want to be able to see it. You want to be able to face the fact that what's going on with your hair. And that's why a lot of men think that the haircut caused a problem. Like I get like some guys be like, oh man, my barber cut me up, and all of a sudden, maybe it was this. Like you start thinking about all the things that you can blame, but it's not that. But that's not the case. A lot of it's been happening. Your hair has been thinning. It's not the barber who, the only thing I would say is that when I tell my clients, like, keep the if you can keep the alcohol off your hairline, keep the alcohol off your hairline, because alcohol is very drying. And when you're putting that on and when you feel that burn isn't it's not you like, oh, I'm becoming a man. No, that ain't the time to becoming a man right there. You know what I mean? That's the time to tell your barber, hey man, listen, I get it, but I appreciate you if you don't put the alcohol on me next time. Or you can just tell them that before they even do it. Hey, nah, they're cool. You don't want, it's gonna dry. When your skin around your hairline is dry, it's very tough for the hair to kind of punch through. But you want your scalp to be elastic. You don't want it to be dry. Okay. So a lot of times a haircut just exposes the truth that was always there, man. So your haircut didn't cause the weak spot on top of your head. A lot of times it just exposed it, and that's essentially what it did. All right. Now, another thing that I find that black men keep missing is the slow change. Not every black man wakes up one day, with a huge spot. It doesn't happen that way. For a lot of men, it's slow. It's slow and progressive. That's it. It's like, it's the hair is between the hair and the tortoise, right? It's the tortoise. Our hair is like the tortoise, especially like I said, because of the texture of our hair, because it's curly. It can look a lot more dense versus if you have straight hair. If you have straight hair, you're gonna be able to see your thinning a lot earlier just because of the texture of your hair. All right. So for a lot of men, like I said, it's slow. The top is less full, then the middle starts to get weaker, then the crown gets lighter, and the hair just doesn't wave up the same, and that pick just doesn't pick the same. All of a sudden, when you was picking it, it kind of had a little snag to it. Now it's just straight. Unless you straighten your hair with a curling iron, then that's a whole different conversation. Even the brush don't even hit the same. And that's why men start saying, man, my hair feels different. The texture changed and it's not hitting the same. And that is not nothing. Or that is just not nothing. That's just the early part. That's where you start to figure out, okay, you know what? This is the early stage of hair loss. I'm losing my hair. And if you keep brushing that off, man, you'll usually catch it. You'll catch it late. You catch it late if you brush it off. Like not brush your hair, but brush it off. Like so that's what ends up happening, man. Now most black men don't miss it, because we're not missing it just because we ain't stupid. What I mean? You ain't missing it because you're stupid. No, that ain't the case. You know, Black men miss it because it starts off small. You know what I mean? Just minute. So now let's get into what men start doing once they notice it. Now you notice it. Now it's there. Now it's like it's prime time, baby. Because that's where a lot of guys start to lose a lot of time. You start to lose a whole lot more hair. Once you notice it, you start to lose a lot more time and a lot more hair. And I'm gonna tell you why. This is where a lot of men, what happens is you start guessing, right? Then you buy one thing, and then another thing, then another thing. You got castor oil on in your bathroom. You got rosemary oil in your bathroom. You got this shampoo in your bathroom. You got so many random growth stuff. A tool that you use on TikTok scrolling, and all of a sudden you saw a little, a little ointment that you can put on your scalp, right? That's becomes the cycle. That's what ends up happening. You just start to guess, you start trying stuff, then you'll stop, right? Because you're like, this is not working. So then you'll just stop. You lose momentum, you lose the motivation, if you will. Then you'll try something else, and then you start feeling lost again. And a lot of men are not, trying stuff. They're also hiding it. They're keeping that cut super low. That's another thing that I notice a lot of guys do. Like either they get like an even top, so they could try to blend it in. Like, oh man, they tell their barber, hey man, just blend this in, bro. Hey, bro, blend this in, bro. Hey, blend that in, bro. Come on now. Hey, you look at your barber. You know how the barber be standing over you. Hey, hey, you blend that in, bro. All right, cool. I appreciate you, man. And they gonna blend you right, especially when they get that fiber on you. Trust when that fiber hit, woo, that fiber different. I ain't gonna even lie. That fiber got you look, yeah, how you looking like a whole brand new man. You walking out there with your gators on. I don't know who still wear gators, but you walking out there like feeling good, like you hitting that hot top, that pavement. Or or another thing, like I said, they might do, like fibers. What else? There's just so many different ways that people start to try to hide their hair. Or they do the brush over. That's another one. The brush over. If your hairline's thinning, you do the brush over. You do the brush over. That's another thing that I find that a lot of guys with their hair, they're trying to do. You start wearing hats more. That's a huge one, right? That's just, and like I know when I went through my hat stage, I used to wear a lot of hats. I still got a lot of hats, but I wore hats because they were for style. You know what I mean? I wore them for style. Y'all remember the what's that one hat back in like this like 99, 2000? It was the Braves hat with the gold tooth. I don't, I might be aging myself, but if y'all know the Braves hat with the gold tooth, boy, I used to collect all them hats. I used to collect all them hats. Another one was when you wearing do rags more, right? I know some people they wear do rags. Some people, you wear do rags from a functional standpoint. When I wore do rag, I was wearing it from a functional standpoint to get my waves right, right? But then people start wearing do rags outside. Now everywhere you go, you wearing a do rag, not because of the waves or the functionality of it. You doing it because you're trying to hide it, or you trying to angle, you trying to get an angle so people don't see it, right? So you might be taking photos, and that's real. Like I had a client where I was talking to him, and he didn't like sitting down and people sitting behind him because he was conscious of his crown was thinning, and that's real, man. That's real. A lot of men are not solving it. They're managing how it looks, and that feels like they're doing something for a while, but it really you just hiding it. So a lot of men are not fixing the top of their hair. They're just trying to make the thinning hair less obvious. That's it. And then another thing that happens, this thing starts to live in your head. Now it's in the back of your head, right? It's like I knew I was gonna get in trouble from my mom. I just knew. I'm like, she was at work, but soon as she get home, the whole entire day. This is in the summertime when I had nothing but time. We didn't have Instagram and social media where we can scroll. We can just watch cartoons and different shows at different times. And the rest of the time, we were just playing, making up stuff. You know what I'm talking about? And so my mom, she'd be at work, and so I'm there summertime, and when you young, time feel like forever. So the whole entire time, I'm like, oh, shoot, I'm about to get in trouble. Man, I know I'm about to get in trouble. I knew it was just like a countdown, right? And it was just in the back of my head. I try to do everything I could, everything I try to forget about that. Try not to have it on my brain, but it was in the back of my head no matter what. And that's what happens when you're losing your hair. It starts to live in your head. You know, some people it's in the front, some people you kind of push it to the back. You know, now you checking the mirrors more. Now you checking the light more. You looking at old photos, scrolling through. You know, thinking about you thinking about your the top of your head. You know, after every cut. You know, and you worrying about who can see it. You know, like I told you about the client who was just worrying about who was looking at it from behind. And that's not a small thing. That's not something that we just kind of brush under the rug. That means this thing is not just on your head; it's in your head as well, and that's real. And that's something that we just don't want to admit. You know, we have to come to terms like, yo, man, this is it is percolating. I ain't gonna lie. You know what I mean? It's like life. When you're going through something tough, you know, you might could go, you know, when I was going through, I remember points of time and moments in my life when I was going through something tough, you know what I mean? I go, you know, light it up. You know what I'm saying? Ooh, let me get the wookie. Yeah. You know, let me go ahead and let my mind relax. I'm stressing. I hit the stressor, right? I do the Black and Miles, you know. I had the Mariana. I had my oh, don't let me get that don't let me get to that Hennessy, you know what I mean? Don't let me do the trifecta. I would mix it all, you know, and then I was, you know, popping pills at one point in time in my life. I was doing a lot of just, I was just a mess. But my point being was I was not dealing with life. I was using things to try to evade the obvious, right? Things that are in my head, so I was trying to numb the pain. And I'm not saying we do that with our hair, but you know that is a part of the everyday struggle, right? That we're in, and we you know some of us are numbing the pain by various things. But the point of it is that it's in your head. It's not on your just on your head. It's in your head, okay? And once that starts, uh, you know, men gets easier to scare and easier to sell to. So now I want to talk about. I'm looking at my time. I got 10 minutes. I'm going into a one-on-one with one of my clients, but I want to talk about what black men keep doing that makes this worse. I'm trying to see if I can get there, or I should just have leave it for some questions. Well, we got 10 people. Let me see. Um, so let me just talk about what makes it worse. All right, what makes this worse? All right, a lot of men know something is off. We know it's off, but men keep putting it off, and you keep telling yourself, it's not bad. I got time. Maybe it'll fix itself. Maybe it's gonna work itself out. You know, we always say, "Hey, let it work itself. Let it work itself out." That saying works for some things in life, but when it comes to our physical health, when it comes to the physical things on our body, nah. You just don't let it work itself out. You know what I mean? You gotta, you gotta be doing. You better do something about it. You know, it don't work that way, right? Because waiting is gonna make it worse. That's what it does. The second thing that makes it worse is hiding, and when you start hiding it, that's gonna make it worse too. You know, you got to call it like it is, man. You know, you hide under the low cuts. You just blend it in. You want to do the comb overs. You're gonna do the brush overs. You know, you wearing the hats. You're trying to keep the weak spots covered. That's not a plan. You know, that's just you just planning on hiding it. That's it. And the third thing that makes it worse is just you using random products with no order. And I see this all the time. A lot of 99% of men are using random products and they have no order, no sequence. You know, one thing is this week, another thing is something else. Next week, you don't have a real plan, and if you don't have a real plan, you only got a plan to fail. That's it. That's it. You planning to fail. The fourth thing that makes it worse is you just not paying attention to what else has changed. A lot of men already know what's been going on. You know, you sleeping bad. Like I said, I was smoking, I was drinking, I wasn't thinking. You know what I mean? I remember I was drinking. Boy, I was drinking. Whew, I could tell you stories about my life. You know what I mean? Yeah, I haven't been no angel at all. But me, the worst sleep, not getting sleep, stressing, You know, life just hit me in all types of directions, and I'm not dealing with life the way I should be dealing with it. You know, I have my scalp is dry. You know, you start seeing flakes. You having that itch. A lot of times, men are surpassing that itch for like, it's nothing. You know, you saw your sister, your mother, your grandmama tapping it. You know what I mean? They didn't do nothing, so you ain't doing nothing. You like, all right, I ain't see them do nothing. And that's not the that's just not it, you know. Or your scalp feel a little sore, you feel a little tender. Those things matter, man, because the man, you know, is telling you that, listen, man, there's something going on the top of your scalp, and you need to pay attention to it. And the fifth thing that makes it worse is acting like the thinning does not matter because the front of your scalp or because your hairline looks okay. And that's a trap because the front of your hairline can buy you some time, but the top of your head that's thinning is going to always tell the truth. Just because the front still looks decent does not mean the top is good. So if that is what keeps making it worse, the next question is simple, man. What do men actually want back? All right, I got 24. And this part matters because a lot of men say they want their hair. I get this. Oh man, what do you want back? I want my hair back. You know. But when men really talk about it, that's not all what they mean. What men want back is a peace of mind. They want less head space. They want to stop thinking about it all the time. They want to stop wearing hats just to feel okay. So you know, if you want to put on a hat, you put on a hat because you wanted to match your outfit. Now you putting on a hat because just to feel okay. And then now all of a sudden, now you wore hats so many times. Now it's like you forgot why you start wearing a hat because you normalized it. You know, and you wanna stop keeping the cut low, just to blend it in, right? So some men just like, man, I don't want to always have to wear my hair this way. I want to wear my hair in different styles. I don't want to feel like a prisoner in my own head or on my own body because I'm doing it because I have to, not because I want to. If you want to keep your cut low because you want to, that's different than keeping it low because you're trying to camouflage and hide your hair, your thinning hair. And so also they want to look like themselves again. Some men, they want their waves back. You know, some men want to get to that regular lineups again. Some men want to stop worrying about the sun hitting their head, the light hitting their head a certain way. And some men want to stop asking, am I cooked? Am I done? So don't miss that. A lot of black men are not just trying to keep their hair. They're trying to get their peace back. And we want our peace of mind. Peace of mind is worth a lot. Okay? So a lot of men say they want their hair back. What they really want is to stop thinking about it every day. Essentially, that's what it is. That's it. So if that is what men really want back, um, I want to close what needs to change really quick. First, you need to stop guessing. That's step one. So you need to stop trying one thing a week and another thing the next week and acting like that's a real plan. The second thing you need to do is stop doing is stop waiting for it to get obvious, before you start taking it serious. If your hair is thinning on the top or the crown or your hairline, or if it feels weak, or if it's showing more scalp after a cut, or the sun is hitting it different, and you can see right through it, that matters. Okay, don't wait 6 months from now. Don't wait, and a lot of guys are waiting. The third thing is stop judging your whole head by the hairline. All right, you look at the top, you look at your crown, you look at the middle of your scalp, you look at what's happening after a fresh cut, you look at what happens in a bright light. Okay, look at what's happening, what's going on. And the fourth thing is stop acting like hats and low cuts and brushing it over, comb overs are the same thing as doing something about it because it's not. Okay? The fifth thing is start paying attention to the stuff around the hair. If your scalp has been dry, if it's flaking, if it's itching, if your scalp is sore or tender or bothered, that matters. If your life has been heavy, you've been sleeping bad, you've been, you know, running and you got a lot of pressure on your shoulders and you just been holding it up, not doing nothing about it. If you're trying random stuff with no order, that matters. That's what needs to change, y'all. Don't panic. Don't go out there shopping, buying random products. You need to stop. We need less guessing. We need to hide less. We need less waiting, and we need more honesty about what's going on, what we're seeing on our scalp. Okay. So instead of asking about what you should buy next, you should ask, what have I been missing the whole time? That's what you should be asking. What am I missing? And that's going to give you a better direction than trying to buy another product. All right. Questions. I got 1 minute. The derm told me don't cut it too low. Okay. I got questions. You get any questions? I got 1 minute before I gotta go. Questions. Any questions? No questions? Okay. Maybe. Is it okay? Here we go. Is it better to let the hair grow a little from a buzz cut for a receding? To let the hair grow a little from a buzz cut from a receding. Yeah, you can grow your hair. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you want your hair to. I say only thing I would say is don't use the hair to hide the problem. Don't use your hair to hide your hair loss. If you're using the hair to hide your hair loss and you're not dealing with the problem, that's the problem. If you're not dealing with it, that's the thing. And then on top of that, if you can't see how severe or less severe it is, that becomes a problem because you don't know what you should be doing about it. The derm told me don't cut it low. Yeah, you can cut it low. There's nothing wrong with that. I'll just say when you do get a cut, make sure you wash your hair that day after you get the cut, because you don't want the hair in your scalp and it's irritating your scalp. You don't want that. So make sure you wash your hair after you get a cut. To get a buzz cut for a receding temple. Or so, okay, so I'll let it grow out. Yeah, you can let it grow. I mean, I would have to definitely see your hair and get a little bit more information. But again, listen, I got to run, guys. You guys hit the link. I got my my hairline hotline that I'm doing a segment in my lives. I'm gonna start doing. Hit the link, fill out the form, and I can let you know what you're missing. All right. With that being said, I'll be back next Friday, and on Talk to Me Tuesdays on on IG. I'm on IG as well on Tuesdays. 15 minutes. This here I try to be a little bit longer than 15 minutes, but I gotta run. Gotta get into this meeting. Y'all enjoy the rest of your Friday and